Today we are going to take a look at the DJI Ronin 2 or the RS2, the bigger brother of the RSC2 of DJI. We will do a full test on how well the stabilization performs on the field. We're not going to do a full review about the features, but we are going to focus on some standard on-field performances with and without inbuilt stabilization of the camera. I'm not sponsored by DJI in any way, so I can give you a complete unbiased review about the performance. So I recently bought this DJI RS2. Before I used the Zion Crane 3 Lab. This performed really well, but there were some things about this gimbal that somehow annoyed me, especially with panning, and there were some stutters in the panning. The reason that I bought this one and did not buy the DJI Ronin at that time was because this had interchangeable batteries, and I thought it would be better. One thing that really convinced me, that was the handle at that time. It was a lot easier to carry. I could make really a lot of beautiful shots with this. Now later with the original Ronin, there were also features to have like a handle, but it was not at that time. But now we have the Ronin RS2. So what they have integrated is that you can take off the tripod, move it over here. And here you have the same like with the Zion Crane. So before we go on with the footage, I want to say something about the camera I was using. I used the Sony a7 Mark III, also with the Sony lens FE 1.4 24GM. So I used the same settings all the time. During the filming I remained always the same shutter speed and the frame rate. The frame rate was set to 50 frames per second and the shutter speed was set to 100, double of the frame rate of course. So let's get into it. So here we start with the first footage of Julia just walking. We used the DJI RS2 gimbal here, the Sony a7 Mark III, the Sony FE 1.4 24GM lens, and shot at 50 frames per second and 1/100 shutter speed. You can see here I'm walking slowly here. We have the steady shot off. There's no software stabilization at this moment, so the inbuilt stabilization is put off. Next we walk on here, we see Julia walking again. I'm walking in front of her. The steady shot is on here, so the inbuilt stabilization of the Sony camera is put to on. Again, no software stabilization. Keep in mind I'm walking backwards here, so maybe I can be moving sometimes, but it gives you an impression on how it works. It's just taking one shot. We did not do anything once over because I want to give you the most honest review it would be, so like in real time. Here you can compare this two side by side, and you can see already there is like a little change with the inbuilt stabilization. Of course it is better. Next we're going to a running shot or medium running shot. Again, stabilization is off here. You can see some shakiness of course. Of course it is better than without the stabilizer. Here again the shot, but with inbuilt stabilization. And side by side of course, to have a nice comparison. And you can see more shake on the left side without the software, the inbuilt stabilization. Here we can see a view. I'm just walking with the gimbal. So if you're using a gimbal, it's always better to have more of a stabilized walking too, because if you're just walking, your body will move up and down and you will see the shaky footage anyway if you're using a gimbal or not. So the best way is to walk completely different, more stabilized. If you'd like to know more about how to shoot a travel video, we made a special video about it. You can find the link here above. Here you see the running shot. You see, of course, it is well stabilized, but still you see some shaking. And here you can see I'm running, but with the inbuilt stabilization on. And if you compare them side by side, of course, you see a huge difference in the two. So the moving around is one of the most important things that I was buying this new gimbal. I would have a lot of stutter with my previous gimbal, and with this one it seems like it is going really smooth. It's something I really like about this gimbal. It's completely different from previous gimbals I had before. You see, it is not so easy to walk around there. It was not flat terrain. I had to move up and down. There were branches laying over there. But yeah, it's like it is in real time, and you can see the real performance here. And the side by side with the steady shot off and on. You can see here, while walking more stabilized, it has a small increase in performance if the steady shot is on, but in this situation it's more or less the same. So next we're going to do the push in and tilt up. It's something I really like to do. You can see here how I'm doing this, so you can see it's just a normal way of doing. Really nice stabilized. Here is with the steady shot on. It's like almost the same. And let's see for the side by side. You can see a real difference here. And for me it's like almost the same. It's not like a real benefit, but at the end for me it's about the performance, how it shows, of course. Here we have the simple moving up, or the pedestal, or how you want to call it, with and without stabilization. And yeah, you have to keep in mind here I'm tilting it up way above my head, so that's why it's more shaky. But of course these are things that are happening during filming. Here is just a sky shot and moving around a tree with the camera tilted completely up. And you see there is some shaking here, so yeah, that's something I don't like too much in footage. So here with the steady shot on, you can see it's already a lot more smoother. So the combination of the gimbal and the steady shot, the inbuilt stabilization of your camera, I think it's a must. Here side by side, you can see it's more shaky here. Again, here where I'm walking, it's not stable. It's all just forest floor moving up and down. But that's the best way to test it, I think. Here just the slow pan. It's not something I really like to do a lot, the panning movements, but yeah, some people like it. And again, the slow pan, again with the steady shot on. It's more or less the same. Maybe a little bit smoother with the steady shot. You have to see for the comparison. Yeah, I guess it's almost the same. I was a little bit quicker with the steady shot on. Oh, here we're going a little bit faster. This is something I really don't like, but hey, it's for the testing purposes, of course. Okay, let's move on. Here I'm holding up the camera really high while walking. Just normal walking again. This is something I normally would not do, but I want to give you an impression how it would be when I'm walking just normally. I'm holding the camera really up high. Holding it too high, you will have more shaky footage, of course. And here, if you compare the both of them, the Vortex you can do with most of the gimbals, but I must say that this one is absolutely remarkable about being precise. I tried to do this already a few times with other gimbals, and you have to be careful because the camera tends to drifting because you have to use the joystick. And I think this one is a lot more smoother with the inbuilt stabilization. Yeah, if you compare them side by side, you can see a huge difference in something like this with inbuilt stabilization or not. So definitely go with inbuilt stabilization if you want to use something like this. But of course, all this footage is without post-production processing, so I did not use any stabilization during this complete test. So of course, normally you would use extra stabilization from your program on your computer, and that will also fix a lot of the footage, of course. So a quick recap. I already mentioned sometimes before during the video that it is really important how you walk. It has no use to use a stabilizer if you're not walking correctly. For the scenes where you'll be running or have more action, you will need to do some post-production stabilizing for sure. After all, I'm really happy with the performance, and I'm looking forward to go on our next trip. I guess we have to wait a little bit until all the pandemic is over and all the borders are open again, but we are waiting for it, and I'm happy if I can go again. Before we wrap this up, don't forget to subscribe, hit all bells and whistles, and if you can leave a comment what you think about it. If you already own a gimbal like the RS2 or maybe a previous version or a different brand, I would like to hear your comments about them too. Maybe you would have some good tips for me, so let them know please. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.